Looking for
to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. Back on here with my man Phil, my co-host from All About the Birds. As you know, you can follow us on Twitter at ST Philly Sports 1. You can follow my personal account at Scotty Drowned. You can follow Phil at Beard A Knowledge.
Beard of Knowledge and AAT
Beard of Knowledge. AAT Birds.
I'm still working on growing it back out. Corona made me cut it short, but it's getting there.
Oh, it's getting there. It's better than what mine's ever been. But, yeah, so we're here. We're about to talk some Flyers, Phillies, and Sixers. We got a lot going on right now. Not all good, of course. I do want to, point out before we get started, I do have a T-shirt raffle going on. Three different versions of the 47 brand tie-dye T-shirt. You got the Eagles, Sixers, and the Phillies. The Flyers were sold out, so I couldn't put that one on there. But yeah, I'm gonna pick one of my many lucky listeners to go ahead and win a T-shirt, and I will ship that to your house. Just be sure to go and like the post, retweet the post. And subscribe to us on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and put you in that raffle. Yeah, so let's just dive right in, man. We're gonna pretty much no need for an overview. We're gonna touch on all three teams in their own order. We're gonna start with the Flyers because they're the best team in Philly, and it isn't close. It isn't close.
Let's go,
man. I'm telling you. When was that game? Saturday night. Man, I was hyped watching that game, man.
It's been a long time to be that hyped for a Flyers game.
Yeah, I swear, man. Watching it almost, I didn't even notice that the fans weren't at the game, honestly. It was that intense for me to watch. And, I usually watch my UFC on Saturday nights, but I skipped that. I had to watch the whole game, man. They were able to, knock down the Bruins, the Capitals, and the Lightning all in a row. Yeah. Those were 1 through 3 seeds?
Yeah, top teams.
So we knocked down everybody.
Tampa Bay is supposed to be one of the favorites coming into this season. So that was the one that was the most impressive to me.
Yeah,
that team is
huge,
fast.
Man.
That team is good. And to be able to play that way against them, that was the best performance I've seen in a long time from a Flyers team.
Yeah, it was intense. And, you had Carter Hart out there. He only gave up 2 goals the entire, that whole entire time in the round-robin games in 2 starts, which is crazy, for a guy who's –
against the best teams in the league.
The best teams. Like, it's the best that you're going to play, aside from, some of the Western Conference teams. So, I mean, it was pretty exciting to watch that game. Now we get to watch them in, like, real, 7-game series, playoff series. Against the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know too much about them. I did a little bit of research on them. I'm sure you did before we came on here as well. I know they were able to, beat the Penguins. What was it, 3-1 in a 4-game series? So during those round robin games for the Flyers, they're another team with a really good goalie, really versatile, really deep. Eerily similar to the versatility of the Flyers, obviously not as good given the record. The Canadians are sitting at 31-40. Flyers at 41-28. So I mean, they're not. It's not like there's some pushover. They are an underdog, but they're an underdog capable of winning. Obviously, you saw them take out the Penguins at the 5 seed as the 12 seed. So yeah, I mean. How do you feel going into the first series? I'm a little nervous just because it is a young team, but at the same time, they're so good that you have to believe that they're going to win.
I'm not nervous at all about this series. Not at all. I mean, I never predict, sweeps in playoff series for hockey and basketball, but I'm borderline calling a sweep here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Flyers are just clicking on all cylinders. They beat the 3 best teams in their conference, and their best players didn't even score a goal. Giroux, nobody scored for that. It was all the role guys that were getting the goals. The only thing I'm going to say I'm concerned about going into the series is their power play. If I'm correct, they did not score once on the power play in any of those 3 games. I know at some point in that, last game they put the flash up there. They were 0 for 8 at that point. and I'm pretty sure they didn't get any power play goals.
Yeah.
It shows a little bit of their youth and inexperience. The one thing I've been watching Flyers hockey for a long time, and they're either a really fast team or they're a really strong and powerful big team. This team's both. Tampa Bay is considered the fastest team in the league, and they skated straight with them. They did not fall behind once, and I love that.
Yeah,
Montreal, don't scare me. Their goalie, I mean, he's a veteran. He's been around. He's really good. Carter Hart looked up to him growing up. But outside of that, there's nobody on the team that really scares me at all. And, I mean, yeah, I'll say it. They're going to sweep. They're going to win 4-0 this series.
Okay.
I'll put it down right now. Make it official, you know?
That was going to be one of my questions for you. You know, what was your overall projection on this series?
I mean, I don't know. I'm going to spitfire on that one.
Hey.
You know, don't crush me when they lose. They win 4-1 in the series.
No, because that's where I had them. I had them at 4-1.
I know their hashtags anytime, anywhere, but I dug deep to the last time I was excited. This was given away on the first home game in 2010 playoffs. Unite and fight was their thing back then, and I pulled that out for tonight because
nice.
that was the last time I felt like this at all. And that was a special year playoff-wise. I know they didn't get the cup that year, but I feel the same way. I have the confidence going into this, and it's a good time making up for some of the downfalls of other teams right now in our city. So.
Yeah, agreed. And to your point, I know their main guy Tater. Excuse me if I'm butchering that name. It's like Tatar. So it could be Tatar, Tater. I don't know. He's apparently their best team. He's another guy. He's apparently the best player on their team offensively. He didn't put up any points, against the Penguins. Similar to our main guys not putting up points. To your point about the power play, which is funny you brought that up because I actually read in on that today. And the Canadians are actually worse in the power play attempts than the Flyers. So the Flyers actually went 0-11 of power play, periods in that three-game round robin. And the Canadians went 0-12. So they're just about equal in that aspect,
I will throw out there that
funny.
Them giving up their first penalty kill goal was my fault because they were something like 8 for 8 on the penalty kill. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I've never seen a team do this. And literally 30 seconds later, they gave up that first penalty kill. That was my fault, everybody, 100%.
Well, I'm glad accountability is the first part of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
One of the teams in Philadelphia need to start having that same, characteristic. But yeah, to your point, guys like Coots, Hayes, Giroux, even TK have not scored a single goal in those 3 round robin games, which isn't a bad thing to me. I think it just shows how deep and versatile we are and how goals can come from anywhere. And it gives time for those guys to get comfortable and get in their groove. And what do you know? We will probably have a breakout game from at least one of them during this series. You know what I mean? So I think that's actually a good thing. I'm right with you. I didn't want to pick a sweep just because I didn't want to get overly confident. I had them at 4-1. I had them at 4-1. I feel like they could
play.
Yeah, I feel like they could drop a game. just if the Canadians are playing really hard or something. But
if there's a home ice advantage, like if we were going to Montreal for 2 games or something like that, I could see that. But this is neutral ice.
Yeah,
they got it. I'm gonna go 4-0.
Hey, I'm with it, man. I pray for that. Yeah, so obviously, man, this is the team I'm most excited for now. We got the Sixers going into the playoffs here soon. It seems like negativity is surrounding that team right now. They need to get something to turn that around. Hopefully, some early success in the playoffs for them. But yeah, the Flyers are exciting, man. And if you ever get a chance to watch them, I know you watch them, Phil, but just like speaking to the listeners, I know a lot of fans don't necessarily follow hockey or watch hockey too often. Give them a watch, man. It's exciting. Even if you don't understand it, the way they're playing and just steamrolled the top 3 seeds in the round robin series. It's exciting, man. And now you're going to see, real intense 7-game series against the same team. and you're finally going to get to see that playoff grit, you know, of playing the same guys over and over, even if it only takes 4 games, you know. I have a question for you, though, Phil. You know, with this whole pandemic and stuff, since they came back into the bubble with hockey, are they not allowed to fight? Is that –
That is the thing. There's
okay, I didn't know that for sure.
More than just like being, you know, penalized or kicked out of the game, depending on the situation. It's just like in baseball, it's done the same thing. You're not allowed to clear the benches. You're not allowed to fight. You're not supposed to do that. Supposedly, I don't remember the exact, but there is a suspension associated with starting to play in the NHL. I think there was one in the Western Conference a couple games ago. I'm not sure what game it came from, but I know there's a suspension laid down for that, actually.
Okay, that makes sense because I've seen a bunch of guys about to fight and then it just stops. You know what I mean?
Fun out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Doesn't love a good hockey fight.
That's what I'm saying, man. But that's why I asked you, man. I didn't know if you knew, but yeah, that makes sense though because I've been waiting for somebody. You know, because it seems like teams are getting frustrated when the Flyers are up 2 or 3 goals on them, so then they try to start a fight. The ref's just like, no, take your loss, you know, get out of here. But we'll let the Flyers at that. Really excited, man. They got a real shot in the playoffs. Hopefully we started off right tonight. I can't wait to watch that game, man.
Tonight.
Can't wait. So now we'll dive into the Phillies, right? So it's hard to choose between them or the Sixers as far – I guess because the Sixers are closer to the playoffs. But it's hard to choose on, like, who's most disappointing. Sixers is not out of their fault necessarily, but to a sense it is the GM's fault even, you know, before the Ben Simmons injury. With the Phillies, though, you know, they're like the epitome of inconsistent right now. It's going around. I saw your tweet last night, you know, just like good pitching, you know, spreads around the team. So does bad pitching. It spreads like a wildfire. We saw Neres, you know, go out there and slump it out last night a good bit. I know you're a Neres fan. My buddy David, you know, he's been hating on Neres since last season when I thought Neres was pretty good last season, man. But he's not a Neres guy. I'm actually very fond of Hector. I think he's, you know, he's a decent closer, especially compared to the rest of what we got. But, yeah, how are you feeling about the Phillies generally? And then we'll dive into some more specific stuff.
I mean, they're inconsistent. I mean, you know, there's nothing much more to say than that. I mean, they're really top-heavy. Their starting pitching is looking really good. Their bullpen isn't. Half their offense looks great. Half their offense doesn't look like they belong in the bigs right now. So, I mean, it's so inconsistent right now. You don't know what to do. I mean, you said it, you know, pitching is contagious. It's also, you know, bad pitching is contagious. And you would think they always say hitting is contagious too. Or, I don't know if you played on a baseball or softball leagues or anything like that. You know, you get into the dugout after an inning and you chat, let's all hit this inning, you know? It just haven't had many of those long stretches of, you know, crooked numbers being put up in an inning. And it's just the inconsistency it's baffling at this point.
It's frustrating.
There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, and you have to look at guys like, you know, Bryce and even JT and Didi. We don't know that we're going to have them next year, you know, going forward. We don't know that. These guys aren't signed to extended contracts, you know what I mean? So if we're going to be idiots and let guys like JT walk, then we have to at least take advantage this season, you know what I mean? In a shortened season, at least give us a playoff berth, you know what I mean?
Well, every team makes the playoffs this year, right?
Right. That's what it feels like. Everybody feels like they have a shot for some reason. But,
mark my words. If we lose JT and they don't re-sign Didi, and this team next year goes into next year looking as inconsistent as this year, you know what's going to happen is Bryce Harper is going to demand a trade. I guarantee it. He came here to win. He was told that they were going to spend stupid money, which was the dumbest phrase that Middleton could have ever used.
Mm-hmm.
But he is not going to want to stay here for 13 years just to collect a paycheck. He loves that money, but on the flip side, he loves winning just as much, if not more. He's going to want out if they lose those guys. I see it happening.
And, to your point about Bryce, one, how idiotic would that make us look as an organization?
Yeah, absolutely.
Two, you see what Bryce wants. Bryce has said what he wants out in public for a reason. You know what I mean? He put it out there. So now if JT doesn't get signed back, that immediately creates a riffle. Nobody's going to forget what Bryce said about signing him back. You know what I mean? So to your point, that's an automatic strike against, Bryce wanting this to be here. And at the end of the day, you can't please everybody, but he's your superstar. You paid him, $330 million. Like,
to really though, but they gave him that big deal. But if you really break down the contract numbers, he signed for a per annual salary under market value.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's making 35 or 40 million a year. He's making what I can't do the math off the top of my head, but it's less than 30 million a year right now.
Yeah.
And that's something that other teams might, if he's disgruntled, they're not going to give us 5 prize prospects for him. But some team will take that contract on if he's, fed up and wants out of town and all.
Yeah.
So it's a scary thought moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah. And to your point, once again, about the contract in general, signing the 13 years, he did that as a favor to us, so that we could keep guys like JT and bring in more talent. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, good point. I really do hope we just bring JT back. Like you said, the starting pitching, which I do want to give you a shout out for the Jake Arrieta call because he had a stellar game. I can't remember which game it was. It was over this past weekend. Yeah, his last game.
After his first 2 innings of his first start, he's been nothing but lights out.
Yeah. And it's looking like exactly what you said, contract year, he's about to bring it, man, and I like the feeling of it. The starting
got
pitching.
a 2.45 ERA so far this year. It's only 2 starts, but that's
still
that's good.
When you look at the rest of our staff, that's really good. So
nobody wants to get paid.
Yeah, exactly. So so how do you feel, we talked about it briefly, but how do you feel that Spencer Howard looked in his debut? I didn't get a good chance to watch a lot of it myself. So what'd you think, watching that game on Sunday?
I mean, I was hyped for it. I couldn't wait. It was one of the pitching-wise, I haven't been that excited for a debut pitcher since Roy Halladay came to Philly.
Yeah.
I put my Halladay jersey up just for that and everything. So obviously it was a letdown because he didn't strike out 15 guys and have a complete game shutout. Obviously that was a letdown. But if you really look at it, you could tell there was, I don't want to say nerves, but his fastball looked sharp. His fastball was on. It was moving. It was the breaking pitches. They just weren't as crisp as they're used to. You got to remember, this guy's pitching in a camp. He's not pitching. He hasn't pitched in spring training. So what kind of, work has he really been getting in, just playing against his teammates? So in that case, I really liked it. I couldn't find the quote, but I know a couple of the Phillies announcers interviewed Freddie Freeman of the Braves, who did, take him deep for a home run in the game, but interviewed them and said, he's an all-star, a legend for the Braves, a Phillies killer. What did you think of this guy? And he said, look, the breaking pitches weren't there, but, man, that fastball. And that's all he said. And he basically said that kid, that fastball is going to take him pretty far.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion too. And, again, not the game I wanted to see, but it's an understandable game for a young kid with hasn't pitched, like I said, all year. So, yeah.
So to that point, would you move him up in the lineup if you got the chance to do that? Would you move him in front of a guy like Vince and I don't even know who else they have in there now. With Eflin.
There's an actual rotation right now.
Right, it seems pretty random.
Double headers, so they both pitched on Sunday. Both of them are due to pitch again on Friday, but there's only one game on Friday. They haven't named who's going to start on Friday. You just don't know at this point. They're literally playing every day for the rest of the year. They've got how many doubleheaders to make up. So I don't think there's a set, order at this point because there's going to be so many doubleheaders that break that up and all. I just think that they, going into Friday, they need to make sure that it's his turn in the rotation. You need to get a young kid that has a future. Velazquez, I'm off the Velazquez train. I don't want him to have a future necessarily. You know, you want to get that kid into a routine, pitching every fifth day, you know, so that he can get, you know, we're 12 games into a 60-game season. He's only going to get 10 more starts. We got to get him some experience and some, you know, feeling of normalcy in baseball. And I think that's the most important thing at this point this season. You know, Velazquez, we know what he is. He's what he is. You know, I've talked about it too much. So, you know, so hopefully they do him right, Spencer Howard. They get him that, you know, spot in that rotation. I think if he does well enough this year, he can easily go into next year as the number 3 guy in the rotation behind, you know, Wheeler and Nola. But they got to plant that seed this year.
So to your point, as far as with Howard, you know, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you know, the Phillies, I would imagine they're chasing a playoff spot. You know, they're trying at least. It's not like a down year to take a year off. Do you think by having Spencer Howard get those consistent starts this season, as much as you want to get him as the young guy, you know, acclimated with the team in the major leagues, do you think that will hamper your chances at getting to the playoffs is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, no. Because I think that now that he's in a camp, or not a camp, on a team, and if he can get that every fifth start, like I said, he hasn't beat – I don't know what's going on at Lehigh. They claim they're playing each other up there, you know, but do you really scrimmage like full force against your, you know, teammates and all? You know, I don't know. I think getting him in camp and getting him into a routine by game 2, 3 of his, you know, career, I think he'll be settled in and settled down and be lights out. I have no doubt that he's a stud pitcher. You just got to get him that experience, get his arms stretched out, get those nerves settled. I think we go further with him as a key than Velazquez or Eflin as a key in our rotation. So.
Yep, and that's you know, like I said, I didn't get to watch much of that first game. We all knew what we were, you know, walking into. There's a reason there was so much hype around the game in his first career start. He's obviously a stud that has some talent, you know, in that arm. And I'm right there with you. I think it's best we get him the experience because we don't really have anything to lose in our lineup. You know, it's not like Velazquez is blowing people out of the water. He's terrible. Yeah. So that kind of pushes me into my next point. Basically, you know, we still haven't called Alec Bohm up. We got guys like Gene Segura in the lineup still, you know, making however much money this season, 14 million, 15 million, whatever. He just continues to do these like questionable, mind-boggling moves. You know, calling Reese off of a pop-up from across the pitcher's mound, like, and then you drop it. So, I mean, this guy is just he's a clown, you know what I mean? Like, to say the least. So what do you have to say about, you know, 1, Gene Segura, 2, bringing, you know, Alec Bohm up? Because, like, the one thing that Alec Bohm is known for is hitting. Like, we at least know he can hit. His fielding's questionable. Of course, he's young. He could build on that. Yeah. But if Gene Segura's making blunders like that last night where it cost us a game basically between him and Roman Quinn, you know, a lot of other things factored in there. But those were the 2, you know, errors that stick out in your head. How do you feel?
Well, first off, I as soon as that pop-up happened, I pulled out my phone. I put how dare, you know, Segura do that. But if you go back and watch the replay of the play and you see what's going on in the dugout after the play, it wasn't necessarily Segura's fault. It was more Reese's fault because Reese didn't take charge. Reese was standing there under that ball, but you never heard they replayed it with the field audio on. And you don't hear Reese once say, yo, I got it. You know, so maybe Gene thought maybe he didn't see it. You know, you lose it in the lights, whatever. So it was a blunder. He should have caught it. If he goes, got it, you better catch it. But on the flip side, part of that was Reese and Reese's struggles in the field also. So I want to just point that out. Why is Alec Bohm not up on this team? I have no idea. I mean, the kid hit the ball so well in spring training 1.0. He was hitting the ball in summer training 2.0. You know, there's no reason when you've got guys in your starting lineup Gene Segura's hitting 194. McCutcheon's hitting 147. Where is Scotty Kingery is hitting a flat 100. Reese has gotten it up to 211, actually. Cutting that mustache off, might have balanced his swing out a little bit. I don't know. There's no explanation. His service time has passed, so they could have him now. And they say they want him to play every day. Well, he ain't playing at all down in Lehigh Valley. He's taking batting practice every day. There's a conceivable way he could play third base, first base, and DH, rotate between those three things, and be in the lineup 4 out of every 5 games. You're getting him plenty of at-bats. Kingery has not earned that everyday spot. Gene Segura has not earned that everyday spot. There's a reason why he's been on like 800 teams in the last 3 years, Gene Segura. He puts up some numbers, but they're hollow numbers, So there's no explanation for why he's not in the lineup right now.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. To your point, I did say Reese last week, my last episode that I shot with Will. Reese has been, up until that point, he was my most disappointing Philly. Mm-hmm. Not just because of this season, but really just that, how stagnant and, I know he's getting walked a lot, but, he just hasn't looked right, and you can tell. And the same with Scott Kingery. He looks like Kingery's
year. Kingery's playing his natural position every day at second base. No pressure on him. Should be able to hit the ball.
Yeah.
One thing I would say with Kingery is, could there be a little bit of corona fatigue and corona, symptoms? I know a couple of people that have had it months ago and still don't have taste and smell right and stuff like that. So I'm not ready to write him off as a pro right now. But this is a 60-game season. There's no time for, figuring it out. If he's not producing right now, you got to sit him. You can move Segura to second, Bohm to third. Then the next day, put Bohm at first and have Reese. All these guys can rotate those positions and stuff right now. So with the DH, there's even more opportunities. So, there's no reason for all those guys to be in the lineup tonight, especially after how they played last night.
Yeah. And, to your point, Scotty Kingery, and maybe that is going on with him, as far as the corona. Because I know, like I said, my girlfriend had corona. She works at Thomas Jefferson Hospital. And like you said, she still loses her smell sometimes, still feels, a little fatigued for no reason. Maybe they just need to give him a break, take him out of the lineup for a little bit and let him get his shit together, Yeah, and they did that for Reese a couple times last year, Yeah. And I think that you just got to do that, which brings up another point. We got nice segues here today, man. I like it. You actually brought it up to me before the show. We thought Joe Girardi, and it's way too early to throw him under the bus just yet.
Absolutely.
But we thought that he was going to. Right. And I'm not saying that you did that either. I'm just saying, we talked about it, and he's not doing what we necessarily expected as far as what we hated about Gabe Kapler, and that's holding the players accountable, them having blunders like they did last night. It was all over the team last night for sure. Between Roman Quinn and that layout, for the ball, that was just like, what are you doing?
It seems like he does that a lot too.
Yeah, because he thinks he's so fast, I guess, that he can get to every ball. I don't know what it is, but and then he doubles down on it by, you got a guy on second and third to tie the game or take the lead. If you can just hit it up, you know what I mean? If you could just do anything but what he did, you know what I mean? So, he doubled down on his mistake. But the point is, you see these guys in the lineup tonight. I didn't get a chance to look at the lineup, but you actually went over it.
I got it up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
You got
so I know for sure Segura's in there.
Yep. And you know what? Segura earned a promotion because he went from the 6-hole to the 5-hole tonight. So you got McCutcheon, Hoskins, Harper, Realmuto, your typical 1 through 4. Girardi's been bouncing Segura and Didi from that 5-6, but it goes Segura, Didi. Then Gosselin is actually playing, second base tonight. So he gave Scotty Kingery a night off tonight, which is a surprise. And then you got Nat playing catcher and Quinn in center field in the 9-hole. So they did give, Scotty Kingery the blow, but Segura, Reese, there's plenty of other blows needed in this lineup. They got Realmuto DH tonight. Real Muto could play first base. He's got a first base glove. He's actually pretty solid at it. Did it a few games last year. You could put Neil Walker could be playing second base, and Gosselin can play a different position. There's options on this team, but for some reason we just keep not holding accountable and just keep running the same guys out there.
Yeah. And, the stuff with Segura, it stems even back to last season, those blunders. Basically, you can't – I mean, I guess you can't say he's the reason McCutchen tore his ACL, but,
right.
It's a big part of it. So
which is an issue right now because McCutchen doesn't look right either.
He doesn't look right, man.
I said it before the regular season was canceled or the start of the season was canceled, not to expect much from 34-year-old guy coming back from ACL surgery. They're not just going to come out and hit 300 right away. And
right.
You can see that even in his fielding, he's not getting to balls as quick as he used to. So it's definitely something where he shouldn't be batting leadoff. You might want to put him in the 7-hole. If you're going to put Roman Quinn in there, he's got a better average. He makes contact and has speed. You might want to consider him in that leadoff spot. Girardi is just not – I don't know. It's almost like his season's a wash to the way Girardi's done so far. So I don't know.
It's almost, with Girardi, you have to wonder, is he just trying to get acclimated, with the messed up, the whole COVID thing, is he trying to give guys a chance to get right and get chemistry right? But to your point, I think at the same time, as far as getting chemistry right, just getting other guys in the game and seeing if it works. If you keep just banging your head against the same wall, you know what I mean? It's never going to change. The results are never going to change. So, and who knows? You give Segura a night off, 2 nights off. You give Reese a night off, 2 nights off. Maybe these guys come back refreshed or, with a chip on their shoulder and they play better, because the focus isn't there. The thing with the Phillies is that the urgency just is never there. You know what I mean? This is a 60-game season where you have to you can get behind early, but, is that really what you want to do? Because you have teams like the Orioles, and I know they're in the AL, but still, you have teams like the Orioles who, are outplaying what they're supposed to be playing. Even the Marlins beating us that first weekend are outplaying which we always struggle with the Marlins. But, they shouldn't have beat us in that first series. We have a ton of talent on this team. I know the bullpen is sketchy. That's probably not going to change this season. You know what I mean? I don't know, because you said we're getting a couple guys back. If you want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, you got Ranger Suarez and Victor Arano, who were supposed to be here, that they're due back shortly. David Robinson, we say he might be back in September or mid-September, but that's only 2-3 weeks away. So, he's somebody we're paying big-time money. And we were originally supposed to have Sir Anthony Dominguez on this, squad, but they took 3 years to schedule that Tommy John surgery. So, he's not going to be back even next year. But that's 4 keys in our bullpen that aren't there. So that's taking the spots of the Russos and the McLeans and the other guys, the Pavettas, that are just total trash in our bullpen. We're supposed to go to these guys, those spots. So, it's something to think about. It's not justifying the bad bullpen. But on the flip side, it's saying that, it wasn't what the roster was supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, a lot of these guys in the bullpen don't look like they belong in the major leagues. Even some of the guys behind the bat don't look like they belong, man. And it's sad when you got guys that are at the top of their game, on other parts of the field or, other parts of the game. And it just plays into what we called it, pure inconsistency. And hopefully they can change the trend, especially against the Orioles. Who do they have up next?
I believe.
Mets. Yeah.
And then Boston's not lighting the world on fire this year at all.
Right.
So there are some – our first 10 to 15 games were supposed to be really difficult. You had the Braves a bunch, the Marlins just because they beat us all the time, the Yankees. But then after that, we've got the Mets a bunch. We got the Red Sox, Toronto, who's not much yet this year. So we have a bunch of games coming up that we could get right. But we'll see. The bullpen, what was it Monday night? 13-1. And what did it end up? 13-8, 13-9. So there's no lead safe with that bullpen. Luckily, they did get rid of some of those guys and bring up some new guys, but I don't know if they're enough. We'll see.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we'll live and die by it. Clintek, he didn't want to address the bullpen at all this offseason. You bring in Zach Wheeler. Look what that did for our start. I mean, the starting pitching looks like it's gone up a notch because you've added a legit starter. So
it takes the pressure off the next guy in the lineup.
Exactly.
If Nola loses, which we lost so many Nola games in a row there for a while. Then the next guy, who was Arrieta last year, he's got to press a little bit and maybe take on more responsibility than he should. And then he loses. Then the next guy, Velazquez, has to press. And there's got to be, just on Vince alone, the amount of pressure every time he steps on that mound, he's not that old of a guy. He's, 26, 27. It's a lot of pressure because he knows every pitch is getting scrutinized. Every pitch is getting, every walk is getting blown up out of proportion. So I'm still saying I'm over him. But on the flip side, I do understand the pressure that's going into that. So
yeah, because
Wheeler makes a big difference there.
Yeah, because everybody in your lineup gets shifted down one. That it takes, like you said, pressure off of everybody. With Velasquez, you got probably 3/4 or 4/5 of the fan base that just hates him. You know what I mean? But the Phillies, inconsistent is the word. And hopefully they can turn it around against Baltimore and get back on track. So we'll move on to the Sixers, man. Definitely the most frustrating, disappointing team. What can we expect, Phil? Simmons is done for the season. They kind of pretty much solidified that. They're going to move Horford into the starting lineup, which we all can dread, but it's like, who else? Who do you put in the lineup if it's not Horford? I don't know. I mean, not like any of these other guys are proven either.
Mike Scott looked good the other night.
Yeah.
If it was a little warm or colder out, I had my Mike Scott Christmas ugly sweater that I won online somewhere. I was like, if it was a little colder, I'd put this thing on today.
Good old Mike Scott, man. He might see some playing time now, you know what I mean? But, he had his own
the hive, the Mike Scott hive.
Good times in Philadelphia, man. The good times. So, I mean, you got Tobias Harris still there, Joel Embiid. What I'm praying for in this first series, I don't know if we can get to the second round. If we get there, I don't think that we can win the second round. But, if we're able to win that first round, maybe it changes my mind, after I see some things. Who knows? I do believe that Joel Embiid is that type of player that could go off for a series, just give us 4 or 5, tremendous games and maybe just win that series, not by himself. Obviously, we have that it might be by himself on offense. Tobias puts up about 20 points a game, but I think that Joel Embiid could do that. But at the same time, you're playing some decent teams in Miami and a good team, especially in Boston. What do you think? How does the outlook, especially with that first-round series? It's such a tough first-round series no matter what.
Boston is so tough to play.
Yeah.
They match up so well with us. They always give us fits. I don't know.
They're well coached.
I'm sorry?
They're well coached, too. So
They are. They just gave Brad Stevens a pretty big extension to this afternoon. I didn't actually click on it to see what it was. I was just hoping it didn't mean the Sixers were extending Brett Brown or anything. But everybody was freaking out the other game against the Suns because all 5 of our starters were out. You had, outside of Shake, but our original starters, there was no Ben, there was no Joel. They were resting Jay Rich. Tobias and Horford were both out for, rest or whatever you want to call it. But before that, it's kind of like we shouldn't panic just for one guy being down, Ben Simmons. He is obviously the leader on offense, if you want to call him, because he's like that point forward and he directs traffic out there. But we still have Josh Richardson, who was pretty much the leading scorer on the Heat last year. Al Horford got that contract because coming into this year, he was still an all-star caliber player. Tobias Harris, he's still, a 20-point game scorer. We have talent on this team. We got Burks. We got Glenn Robinson III. One guy being down shouldn't be the end of the world. And it comes down to one thing. You said it, coaching. And if we win against the Celtics, it's going to be despite Brett Brown, not because he coaches us there. You know, last night, did you watch the Suns game yesterday at all, or?
No, I checked the box score, but I didn't get much of the game.
I was listening to on the radio. I was in my car most of the time, but I was listening to the post game interview that he did. That was only thing I cared about of the whole game, because I knew exactly what he was going to say. It was going to be back like a process, you know, post game. I really liked the effort. I saw things, coachable moments. Dude, we're one game away from the playoffs. We had title aspirations this year. These aren't coachable moments. This is not college. These aren't 19-year-old kids anymore. You need to be able to motivate them and get them ready to play, and they have to be in the right positions. And he just doesn't do that. And so if they win, if Joel Embiid, I mean, he was, before he got hurt, I mean, 4 or 5 straight games where he was straight dominating. He can carry the team to a playoff win, no doubt. Will he? If it is, it's despite Brett Brown. And it all is going to come down to coaching because, I mean, how many times has Brad Stevens out-coached Brett Brown?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. They've out front officed us by getting us to take Al Horford out off their hands. So it's not just coaching us; it's out front officing us, if that's even a word.
Yeah, they've honestly, you know, kind of just taunted us.
We can go back another few years. They smacked us around by taking Markel Fultz instead of Tatum. You know, they've just had our number for 5, 6, 7 years now. If we go back further, we gave up on Paul Pierce for Larry Hughes. You know, so
you're taking us way back with that one, man.
What's that?
You're taking us way back with that one.
Boston just has our number coaching and front office wise. They have for a long time, and that's I'm predicting a Flyers shutout in round 1. I could easily see the Celtics knocking us out in 5 or 6 games in the first round easily.
Yeah. We're gonna learn a lot in that first playoff game. Literally,
Absolutely.
That first playoff game, we will see what the Sixers are bringing without Simmons. To your point about Brett Brown, I was about to call him Bridge Brown. To your point about Brett Brown, you know, coachable moments. It's like, dude, we're not doing coachable moments right before the playoffs. It's time to know your team and know what they excel at, and either they do it right or they do it wrong, and then they exit the game. You know what I mean? But yeah, God, Brett Brown. You did give me a little bit more optimism, you know, kind of going through, you know, Josh Richardson, Tobias, Al Horford, what they're supposed to do. To your point, that if we do get the Celtics, they're a great coach team, and they probably will work around, you know, not having the best matchup for Joel Embiid. They got guys like Tease down there or up there, I should say.
Horford was the guy really giving Embiid
right.
So
right, and so, but the thing is, you know, Brad Stevens is a smart coach. You know, double down on Embiid and leave one of these guys that are spotty shooters open. It's going to come down
about last week that Embiid's doing great now,
passing out of the double team.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's going to depend a lot on Embiid. 1, his effort, and 2, his focus. You know, because it's not about his talent. Sometimes it's about his conditioning for sure, but it's not about his talent and what he can do on the basketball court. The guy is a bona fide star. In my opinion, the most dominating center. I know people like to compare Jokic. I don't think that – I can't say it. Jokic does it in a different way. But in my opinion, I think Embiid, when he's locked in, you saw in that game, was it against the Wizards? Who was it against? Where he started out – it might have been the Magic, where he started out, you know, in the first half. He only had like 4 points in the paint, 6 points total. Then in the second half, he comes out and goes to the paint every single possession.
That comes out of coaching. Like why is he in the paint all game long? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know you have one of the most I'm so frustrated. I can't say it right now. One of the most dominant centers, you know, of this generation, of the last generation, and you have him not playing down low. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody in the league that can guard him down low. One-on-one. Nobody.
And to your point, you know, the biggest part of dealing with Ben Simmons gone is coaching. You know what I mean? So we have to adjust our whole game plan. Like, yeah, whenever Embiid's out of the game, I guess you can still run that up-tempo type of fast break. You know, the thing that Ben Simmons was the best at on the team, you know, like being that facilitator, pushing the fast break and getting those quick, easy buckets, whether it's off steals or rebounds, whatever the case may be. You're going to have to switch up the game a little bit. You're going to have to play a little bit more half-court offense, you know, with Embiid in the post. See if he gets double-teamed, feed it back out. You know, you're going to have to be a lot smarter offensively rather than just playing pickup basketball, you know what I mean? It's going to come down, you know, Brett Brown. If we can get a guy like Richardson hot in a given series, you know, where he's beside Embiid and Harris, and he can maybe, you know, put up anywhere from 15 to 20 points that series a game, we might be able to get that. Or we could get it in a different sense where it's a different guy every night, you know what I mean? Because we've seen Burks put up 20 points. We've seen, you know, Thibault shoot the ball well sometimes, you know what I mean? Josh Richardson got hot the other night and went off for like 35 points against Portland. So, I mean, it's there. Shake Milton, we saw the 39-point game against the Clippers before the bubble, you know. So it's there. We just have to find it from wherever we can get it every night, and that's going to come down to coaching as well. I did like the game from Neto last night that I saw. He's very efficient. I love pointing that out to you because I know you're a Neto guy. People love to hate on Neto, man. But
I'm not a Neto guy. I'm just a Neto. There's no reason for people to trash Neto because they got rid of Trey Burke. Neto and Trey Burke are the same player in the sense where they're both the 15th guy on your roster.
Right.
Perfect for a game like last night where they had a lot of guys out. You know, I mean, he was dipping and doing all over the place, dropping shots, you know, making defense. He made Ayton, the young center for the Phoenix. He was like looking around like, where did he go? He's like, I got it, you know, no problem.
Yeah, he's crafty, man.
Yeah, what was Trey Burke doing last night? He was getting cooked on defense last night. Okay.
Did you see him with Did you see him with the dish off and he like pushed somebody to the ground and got like an offensive foul?
He's like, what happened? You know, I don't know what happened there. Come on, Trey Burke is what he is. He is a gunner, a below-average gunner. At least Neto runs an offense, and Neto knows his role. He is perfectly fine sitting for 12 straight games. And then you need him to come in, he's ready to go. So exactly. I love my Neto. If we had to get rid of TJ, which we had to because of money purposes, Neto was the perfect guy to replace TJ.
Yeah,
he's
man.
A poor man TJ.
Yeah. Gotta love TJ McConnell, man. I miss that guy.
He was picking on Shake. Player in any sport right now that can go off on the Sixers or the Eagles or the Flyers, and I won't get mad just because I love TJ. I can't get mad at him, you know.
Because you know what he's good for, you know, and you know that he's always trying his hardest. So, like, that's what matters in reality. But, yeah, TJ, we miss that guy for sure. So the next question, you know, we have to put, you know, like a preface out there. Neither of us want to trade either of Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. We would hate that. I literally would be mind blown if we did something as idiotic as that. Two guys that I know we both look at as cornerstones to a franchise. Why would you do that before you try firing Brett Brown and getting a new coach in here? You know what I mean? So I'll allow you to go ahead and start. If you had to trade one, say it's a year down the line, 2 years down the line, you got the new head coach in here now, and it's still not working, which one are you keeping on the team?
Well, I guess the way we discussed this before the show, I'm getting rid of Joel Embiid. We just so like he said, neither of us want that. So we had to just like pretty much draw straws on who we're talking about here. So I'm getting rid of Joel Embiid then. That's my guy that I have to figure out. The thing with Joel Embiid, if you're going to trade Joel Embiid, there's two things to look at. Ben Simmons, while he's, you know, got his flaws, I think it's easier for the Sixers, the way they're constructed with Tobias Harris going to be here for a while, you know, probably Al Horford for a while. You could construct a team around, you know, Ben Simmons a little bit better than you can Joel Embiid. Centers like Joel Embiid don't come often, but also a lot of teams win without a dominant center. So you could find a way to do that. And the only way, so I brought up his contract, because I know he signed that max deal and all. The only way you would consider trading Joel Embiid also is you're only going to give a new coach 1 year. Because if you look at his deal, this year, the 1920s, 25, start of this year, he's got 3 more years. His 26, 27, and 28-year-old, part of his deal. You're not going to trade him in 2 or 3 years with 1 year left on the deal, because it's going to be very hard to get that max value, which I think you could get a very large haul for Joel Embiid.
Right.
But you got to do it sooner rather than later. Ben Simmons signed that max extension a little earlier in his life or his career, so you've got more time with him. But Joel Embiid's going to be 29 going into his next contract. So you need to trade him now so a team, whoever it may be, if they're giving up 2 or 3 first-round picks and a couple of players, they've got 2 years to make it work before they know if they have to give him that next 5-year max deal, because he'll get another 5-year max deal.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Even if he misses another season at some point, someone will give him a max deal. And so you need to – you literally only have 1 year with a new head coach to figure it out, because he'll bring in the bigger haul because he has less deficiency. His only real deficiency is his injury history. And honestly, the last 2 years – he's missed, 16, 18 games, which Kawhi Leonard gets 15 games of rest a year. So nobody talks about that. So it's not much different there. So there's no reason at the end of next year or the beginning of the following year before the trade deadline, you can get 3 first-round picks for him. You can get 2 players that are serviceable. Where you're going to go with him, I don't know. But, that's the best I could do on getting rid of Joel Embiid. I tried. But if it happens, whenever we talk about coaches for Brett Brown, you really can only give another coach. And this is actually not just, making something up. You literally are going to get 1 year, because we don't want to trade either. But after 1 year, based off of their age and contracts, you have to you're going to have to move on after 1 year if you can't make it work. You're going to have to.
You're going to have to make a move. And I guess the reason that this all, it pops up, it feels like every offseason between the two. Every report says that they don't get along. They've already confirmed publicly that they get along fine. What sparked it up for me was I saw some report out of Cleveland, which why would you trust a Cleveland, reporter or writer?
The dumbest article ever in the world. I saw it too.
And, they're talking about how the Cavs are going to throw an offer on the table. And it's like, the Cavs would have to give up their entire team and more. I don't think there's anybody on the Cavs that you could trade us for Ben Simmons, honestly. They got some decent guards, some young guards up there that are all right. But
they're not difference makers.
No. If they were, then the Cavs would look different. You know what I mean? So, So to that point, no. So just to the question, the point of the question, I'm in the same boat as you. You don't trade either of them right now, at least. Before this season, I was definitely clinging on to Ben Simmons a little bit more just because of his availability. Playing, after that rookie year injury before the season started, I don't know if he's missed time since then.
This is the most time he's missed this year. That's the most.
So, you had him, hurting his back, what was that, in February, and then you got the knee injury now. It kind of leveled the playing field almost as far as injuries. Not the whole way, obviously, because Joel Embiid misses more spotty time, I would say. It's less big chunks. So just to make the point for Embiid, because I do think at today's age, Ben Simmons with shooters around him is ideal. I think that's a championship team. I think he's perfect for that, that run and gun type of offense. Joel Embiid is, in my opinion, the more dominating force. So he puts his stamp on the game. It's hard for me to say that, though, because Ben Simmons, he is a triple-double guy. But, you just see the explosions from Embiid. Like I said, to where, I feel like he could go out here in the first round and beat a team, just taking over that series. Obviously we'll need guys like Tobias and these other role players. But I just feel like Joel Embiid being that big, dominant center. And it was funny the other day because I was kind of counterpoint to my argument and kind of it's a good point to your argument. When's the last time you saw a team with a dominating center, win the championship? Somebody said, Tim Duncan in the Spurs. He was a center towards the end of his career, like the last 5 or so years of his career. And, he put up decent numbers in that championship against Miami, I think it was. But, that was kind of Kawhi's coming out party even then. He got the finals MVP. Tim Duncan still put up pretty good numbers. But I almost had to go all the way back to, like Shaq. And that's on the Heat. And that's even, with Dwayne Wade, who was probably the better player in that final series with Shaq. You know what I mean? He got the finals MVP. So then you go back to the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe, and like you still have Kobe there. So it's like, you don't really have these big guys winning championships, at least by themselves. You look at the modern day Warriors or even the Cavs that were going to the championship every year against the Warriors. These guys are built around, guard play and that swing forward, LeBron, Kevin Durant, you got Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving. And mind you, it's kind of hard to even decipher when you got the same teams going to the championship every year. But either way, it's just to your point. To my point with Joel Embiid is you have to ask yourself, mind you, I know Joel Embiid is not healthy all the time. He's not in shape all the time. But is he the best big man, the best player, the most dominating big man since these type of guys like, Tim Duncan and Shaquille O'Neal? The numbers and the way it's not even the numbers really, because he doesn't have he has great numbers. They're not the best numbers. He's not at the top of the scoring charts. He's always at the top of rebounding. And he's pretty good. He's always a good shot blocker. But, it's the way that he dominates. You see when he decides that he wants to score inside, there's nobody in the league that matches up with him. AD's too small. You got Jokic there. That's the one guy that you can kind of compare head-to-head, even though they have completely different games. Jokic more passive than Embiid. But I just think if you were to win with a big man, it would be with a big man like Joel Embiid, who can occasionally step out to that three-point line and hit a three, if you need him to. Has the mid-range game down, and then his arsenal in the paint and his aggressiveness and just that power, posting up. And the touch around the rim, man, it's unmatchable in today's game. You look around the league and you say, without double teaming Embiid, without a smart ass, defensive minded head coach, how can you stop Embiid if he is playing the way that he's supposed to and dominating the paint? How can you stop him? You know what I mean? So that was the best argument. Just in today's game, it's hard to argue for a big man over a swing guard. It is.
I do have one point to make about you're talking about Embiid's gaudy number, not having the gaudy numbers like Shaq or Duncan and all. I just did a quick search while you were talking there.
Yeah.
I just looked at Shaq, okay? Shaq was putting up bigger numbers, obviously, than Embiid is right now, right? But Shaq was paying 38 to 40. I went down the list of his, his run with the Lakers and, that part of his career. There were two seasons he averaged over 40 minutes a game. And Embiid's never averaged more than 33 minutes a game for his career yet. Yeah. So 7 minutes a game over a season, it's a lot of minutes, and that's a lot of stats. So maybe I didn't have time to pull it up, but that whole per 48 minute, I bet you he's a lot closer to Shaq in those gaudy numbers in the per 48 minutes than he is, just per game right now. So just something to think about on that too.
Yeah, no, great point. Great point. To your point, I look at Embiid as in, he's in that category. If he can just pull it together, you know what I mean? The talent in the physique and the power is there, you know what I mean? He's just got to put it all together at once. He needs to have these deep playoff runs. He needs to get us a championship, you know what I mean? To be renowned as a guy like Shaq or Tim Duncan, who got, 3-4 championships for their respective teams. So I believe Joel Embiid can be that player. I think that he can. I know you do too. I'm not saying that you don't.
So you say we both say that we don't want to trade either. We talked about how awful that Cavaliers article was in that trade because they got nothing. There's another rumor that I've seen floated around a lot. And just give me a one-word answer. Would you trade Ben Simmons for Booker right now, straight up? It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I don't know how to answer that.
It's tough. And to your point, I did see that trade proposal as well the other day. And, the way I just break it down to that, I can't give you one word answer.
It's tough, isn't it?
It'd be disrespectful to Simmons, you know what I mean? But if it happened, I wouldn't be mad. I'll put it that way. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be upset. I'd be sad, we're letting Simmons go, who I feel is a Philly guy. He's been here since he started his career in the NBA. And it would just suck, letting go of that part of the process. You know what I mean? But, you'd be welcoming a brand new toy in the process. Devin Booker, who has just looked, crazy during this bubble play. And his shooting is what would change our team. It would. I do believe that.
If you're gonna build around Embiid, a guy like Devin Booker or Dame Lillard or something like that, they're the guys that you need to put that score that could just, when he posts that or passes out of that double team, and hit that shot.
Yeah, I agree, man.
That's a tough one.
That is a really tough one. That's honestly the best.
Option.
That's the best option, that I could see if they were set on moving forward without Ben Simmons. Then you get Devin Booker in here. You know what I mean? He doesn't belong in Phoenix.
Or Dame. I'll take Dame in here too.
Dame, man. Oh my God.
Frustrated with Portland eventually, isn't he? I mean,
you would think, man.
He loves it up there for some reason.
He loves those 8 seeds, man. Fighting your way into the playoffs. Hey, I mean, I get it because he's just. And the thing about him is that he would fit in so well with Philly because he's not a sellout. You know what I mean? He's not just joining up teams with, meet me at this team. You know what I mean?
Portland.
Yeah, he could have left Portland and teamed up with somebody, created a super team. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to build it his own way. But to your point, eventually you gotta want to win at some point in your career and just give it up.
I don't want you on my team if you don't want to win.
Exactly. So last question about the Sixers. I think this is a good one. It's a tough one. If Brett Brown is gone after the season, who is your – well, let me put it this way. Would you rather it be within the organization, a guy like Udoka, or, outside of the organization, Mark Jackson? There's a couple guys out there.
I'm going outside the organization. I want anything from the Colangelo – or Hinkie. I mean, I'm a Hinkie guy. I thought he deserved more time. That's another conversation. But anybody that was here during that Colangelo run, I want them out. We need a fresh start when we get rid of Brett Brown. We need a fresh start. So I'm going outside the organization. I'm not as big of a fan as others on the Mark Jacksons, the Van Gundys, the retreads. Unless you've won a title or at least been in that championship round, maybe a Tyronn Lue because he's worked with some of the star teams and all. But outside of him, I'm going Becky Harmon as my go-to. I'm giving that female that first shot. She's innovative. She's creative. Popovich never gave Brett Brown the freedom as an assistant as he gives to Becky Harmon. He really doesn't. So I'm going to try to pry her away. But the problem with that is I can almost see how the Patriots are kind of paying Josh McDaniels a little extra to eventually take over for Bill Belichick. I kind of have this feeling that she's going to be the Popovich replacement there in San Antonio. But that would be my number one pick right there, and probably Tyronn number 2.
I like that one, man. That was an out of the box one, man. I didn't see that one coming. I like that a lot.
I want something different. You're not going to, Mark Jackson, for as good as he is, what did he do? He needed to be replaced for them to get over the hump. Neither Van Gundy coach or brother has ever won a title. They burn people out. I didn't want Thibodeau. Kenny Atkinson, I know he gets a lot of talk and a lot of love with the Nets, but he had stars up there in New Jersey, and I know there were some other issues there, but what did he do this year with that talent up there? Not much. So, I mean, I want somebody fresh, someone that's got innovative ideas, and somebody to play. You really think those players are gonna, get up in Becky Harmon's face? They're not. She seems like she controls those players really well in San Antonio, and they respect the hell out of her from everything I've read.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, with that situation, because I know a lot of people would look at it like, oh, is this woman going to be able to control a bunch of grown men? You know what I mean? If she couldn't,
I'm not say that in a sexist way.
No.
It's a simple fact.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when a college coach comes into the pros. Sometimes the grown men don't respect the college guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So in that sense, you have to look at the team that she's coming from and the coach that is over her. You know what I mean? Greg Popovich wouldn't have her on his staff if she didn't know how to coach men's basketball. You know what I mean? So to your point, that would be an awesome option. It's fresh. It's new. You're getting her from a good organization that has set fundamentals in place that they've stayed consistent despite legendary losses as far as Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu. These guys are still hovering around that 8th seed, you know what I mean? And they brought in DeRozan, but that's a makeshift team, you know what I mean? So that's a good point. I'm in the same boat as you as far as somebody outside the organization. It's obvious, I think I related it to like the Andy Reid situation, maybe last week. We need a new voice, and it's not just Brett Brown's voice. You know what I mean? To your point, it's everybody from those previous eras, the Colangelos and the Hanky eras. We need to clear that all out and start over, but with this team. You know what I mean? I want to see it with this team because this team is talented. So, like you said, I don't know if it's a Mark Jackson. Great basketball mind, but like you said, if you couldn't win with Steph Curry and Clay, and then Steve Kerr comes in and wins his first year, what's that say about you? You know what I mean? I'm not sure who I would go with, honestly. I wouldn't be mad at a guy like Mark Jackson. I just think it would be kind of cliche and like
I wouldn't be mad at it either. Yeah.
It's just a quick fix, you know what I mean? But you never know. Philly is a big market, man. We could prize somebody decent away from an organization. Something, you know what I mean? We could pull something out.
What about the popular name, which I am not on board with, but everybody loves to throw his name out there, and I don't even know why he would leave his current position, is Jay Wright.
Jay Wright from Villanova. So
everybody loves to throw that because then he could stay living on the main line and still coach in Philly, But I'm against that.
Yeah, and part of me doesn't want him to leave Villanova, you know what I mean, and break that. But the other part of it is, you've been doing something so long to switch it up. How good at it are you going to be in a different environment? Well, that's
exactly my point there.
Yeah,
he's been running the same 4-guard offense, and you're telling him to come here with a team with Joel Embiid, a dominant center. He's never shown that he can run a team with a big man. There's not been one big man to come out of Villanova since he's been here.
Right.
So most of his centers are 6'8", So, we don't have shooters here, and that's not going to be fixed immediately. So I don't think he's the right choice. But I know people love him. I mean, he won us a title, you know what I mean? He won Nova title, So, I don't know. I hope that's not the answer. I'll take Mark Jackson over him.
Yeah, the NBA experience, I'm not a big Van Gundy fan, either of them. I'll be happy as long as they let Brett Brown go and get some.
Let him go tonight, and I'll be happy. If it means we're probably going to lose in the first or second round. Just get rid of him tonight. Let's just start now,
Is Tyronn Lue? Tyronn Lue is he in the Clippers?
He's an assistant somewhere this year. Hold on. See if I can find it real quick.
He was at the Cavs, right?
Yeah, he was the Cavs
with
head coach.
LeBron.
Yeah.
And then I guess he got let go. Yeah, because Vogel's the coach in LA Lakers. So I think Lue is the assistant at the Clippers, which is very funny.
Assistant coach on the Clippers, yeah.
Yeah, so he's under Doc Rivers right now. So that wouldn't be a bad pedigree to bring in, He has his history with Philly too,
Dude, that would be great. Allen Iverson on the sidelines for his first game, trips him and steps over him while he's in his suit and all. That'd be a great image right there and all. You know, you see people always recreating photos and all for their families and stuff 20 years later. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome, dude.
But you know what? He was put in a spot probably too early in his coaching career to be the coach because he had experience playing with Kobe and Shaq and stuff like that. And now he's learning under Doc as, you know, taking a step back and all. I think he would be a solid choice because he knows how to work with, you know, those big names and keep egos aside and, you know, whatnot and all. So if we're going to go with someone with head coaching experience, he'd probably be my choice.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't mind your pick of Becky from San Antonio. I think that would be awesome. That would be awesome changes to see. Innovative in itself, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it could spark a new energy, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's enough for the Sixers, you know, talking about who should go and who shouldn't. It's a little early for off season, but it never ceases to amaze me in Philly how much we talk about it. We're just going to go through a quick rapid fire so we can get out of here for this Flyers game. A few mailbag questions. So, first one. Do you think that the Clippers pissed off Damian Lillard on purpose so that they could go out and play harder against the Lakers to prove it and want to go and play the Clippers?
Sure, why not? I mean, it makes sense. You know, that's the Clippers' biggest rival. You know, they're right there. Who's going to make the Western Conference finals there?
Right.
Why not?
See, and the only counter argument to that is that if I was any of those teams in the Western Conference, I wouldn't want to see them in the playoffs at all. But then again, you don't want to see Devin Booker. You know, both of those guys are similar players, you know, and what they can do as far as scoring. So, yeah, I mean, the Lakers should handle business against the Trailblazers. If LeBron is as good as everybody says he is, then they should take care of business. So my next question kind of ties into that one. Is Dame the best point guard in the NBA right now? If not, who is?
I'm going to say no. He might be one of the hottest, but he's not the best.
There's a little recency bias.
Yeah, there's definitely some recency bias there. I mean, we can't call Ben Simmons a point guard anymore, but can we call Luka? Can we call Luka a point guard? Because he's my best point guard in the NBA right now, and if it's not him, surprisingly one of the best in the league, a surefire Hall of Famer in my opinion, and quietly has a team playing really great. CP3 is still –
I knew it.
So Luka and CP3 are two surefires better than Dame at this moment, in my opinion.
Hey, man, you caught me off guard with the Luka, man, and I can definitely side with you on that because Luka is a real deal. I hate that he's in Dallas because I don't like that city in general. But, you know, I don't got much against the Mavericks. Luka is a monster, man. And, you know, the other guy I guess you could bring up, there's this guy like James Harden. You could kind of say he's a point guard. He's up there as well. Lillard, I guess, you know, when I put that tweet out earlier, which sparked this kind of question, Lillard, I guess, you know, you've reasoned me out of it. There are a couple guys out there. It is recency bias, although Damian Lillard's been doing this for a while now, just putting up these crazy gaudy numbers, going on the hot streaks. Consistency is a big deal here, though, you know what I mean? You got guys like Steph out there. You got guys like Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Luka, you know, Ben Simmons. He's not a point guard, I guess.
He's still a point guard in my mind.
He is in my mind, man.
I would put Dame ahead of Simmons right now. Simmons in my mind is a top 10 point guard, but he's not number, you know, top 5 or anything. And you kind of got to think, I know he's kind of taken over this year more of a shooting guard role, but Devin Booker is still a point guard, shooting guard, combo guard. And there's another name I wrote down, and he gets no love at all. And he kind of also is kind of like a combo guard, but he's one of the best defensive guards in the league. And he puts up really good numbers, and he gets no love as Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is I would put him ahead of Ben Simmons in the point guard rankings as well. I mean, Drew Holiday has got no love in his career whatsoever.
Yeah, man. It's sad, actually, because, you know, he started his days in Philly, right? Yeah. So I mean, I do got a soft spot for Drew Holiday down there, man, in New Orleans. Yeah,
He's
Drew
a good
Holiday's
guy. I mean, you see some of the
defensively,
stuff
man.
he does for the community and people. I mean, he's got a heart of gold, and he's had a rough go of it. I mean, his wife was really sick, and they've done. I can never not say enough good things about Drew Holiday.
Yeah, and I can agree with that as well. Drew Holiday is one of my favorite guys in the league. Yeah, I guess what I was getting at with Damian Lillard right now is, seeing this and how it's going down to the wire. And you could say the same thing about Devin Booker. Is there any other guys, that you want, one game, just to take over one game and win that one game on the line? Is there any other guys that you can take over them? And, right now in my mind, I think if I'm going one game, almost I don't want to say it's similar to Embiid, because I think Embiid's closer to the top of his position than Damian Lillard overall. But, just trusting that guy for one game to be out there and take over a game and win it, I think Damian Lillard is the best at that right now. There's other guys like that, though. To your point, Luka, James Harden. There's guys like that can take over the game. So
we're talking straight point guards at this moment. With the recency bias, yes. If you're going to swing it to who do you want to take over a game, I'm still good. I would always go with Kawhi Leonard as the guy I want for one game, but he's not a point guard per se. So when we're talking point guards, it's Dame at this moment for sure. For even if you want to even shrink it down a little bit more, you're tied going into the fourth quarter of a Game 7 right now. Who do you want as your point guard at this moment? It's probably Dame.
Yeah, because I mean. And for a while there, I really loved Steph Curry. But even him, as far as a clutch player, he's not the most clutch guy. I don't think he got any of the Finals MVPs for that Golden State team. I think it was Iguodala, then KD twice. So I love Steph, and I think he's a better shooter and ball handler, and probably overall throughout his career a better player. But right now, I got Dame over him. But that, once again, could be recency bias. It all is recency bias right now, especially with how long we had a layoff for basketball. Because like I said, you could say the same thing about Devin Booker. I think he's averaging 31 or 32 right now, and Dame's averaging 37. So,
Dame's won the big games before. He's hit the clutch shots. Devin Booker hasn't even sniffed the playoffs till this year.
Exactly. He's been playing a lot of meaningless basketball in his career. Last question, not really a question, just about the Giannis headbutt, man. You brought it up on Twitter. It caught my eye. Giannis gets one meaningless suspended game for this headbutt, clearly intentional, clearly malice
intent.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So how does he only get a game when, a guy like, Embiid or even Ben Simmons, when they got in that scuffle with Karl Anthony Towns? I don't think Simmons got suspended, but Embiid definitely got a couple games for that. And I'm just wondering, I know Embiid, they took each other to the ground or something, but this guy just came up.
This is a straight headbutt, This is something you do on the streets, This is. And like you said, malice intent, 100%. He knew exactly what he was doing there.
Exactly, man. And
it's all about the money, though.
With Giannis, it's about money. You need him in those playoff games. You can't have the Bucks going down 0-1 without Giannis there in that first round. No. Not saying that they would, but you just can't.
It's about the ratings and the money with the TV ratings, the TV contracts with no fans in the stands. I said it before to you. It's why the Pelicans were put in the bubble. Because they wanted Zion for the TV ratings. Nobody's going to watch the Bucks without Giannis. Nobody's going to watch them. There's no, player on that team that's really relevant. I mean, I know they have good players, but nobody. I bet you a random fan or a casual fan could not name two players in the Bucks.
Yeah, seriously.
So and he's the big ticket right now for the NBA.
Yeah, he's the NBA's golden boy right now, man. And I think that's why it's so annoying to play the Bucks, man, because you just see him get tapped around, fouls. He'll run you over, and it's a foul. And he
has reinvented the Euro step. That Euro step is now 7 steps for Giannis. Who can walk from baseline to baseline and get away with it?
Yeah, so obviously
he makes Harden look like he's not traveling.
Yeah, seriously, man. Harden's a king of that shit, man. But overall, just expected bullshit from the league, just as expected as, how hard they made the Pelicans schedule on top of, letting the made the Portland Trailblazers schedule and how easy they made it for the Pelicans to, try to get Zion in the playoffs. And, New Orleans kind of went against the NBA by not playing him, those first couple games. But, yeah, interesting stuff, man. I think that's about it. We got to get out to this Flyers game.
The game started already. What's the score?
Yeah, I know, man. We went and took it over, but it's all good, man. A good episode. Thank you for joining me, Phil, once again. It's always a pleasure. I love having your knowledge on the show. Remember, follow me at Scotty Talks. Oh, my God. I messed up my own now.
Stuff now. Man.
Follow me at Scotty Drown on my personal account, ST Philly Sports 1 on the podcast account. We got All About the Birds, AAB.
No.
AAT Birds. God.
Just so you know, I got to plug it. We got a new website. I think I heard a rumor. I know somebody that might be joining to write something here or there. We got a new website, aatbirds.com, so check it out. So.
Yes, sir. I did join the AATB community. I am going to write for the website a little bit here and there, so I'm looking forward to that, man. Once again, thanks for being on the show, Phil. Like I said, remember to subscribe. If you want to get in on this raffle, man, make sure to go like and retweet the post, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And maybe you can win one of these nice Philadelphia sports team shirts, man. That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks again, Phil. Let's go, Flyers.
Go.